So I've just had a haircut today. Just let me know what you think, whether you like it or not. So yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel. If you are new to VsCode, go ahead and subscribe and also smash the like button so I can keep on providing content like this. So today's topic is about how you are going to improve your coding skills, right? So this was a question that I had when I was starting my career as a software engineer. And there are a lot of things that you should be aware of, but back in the days we didn't have like many content creators giving out really awesome content like today, right? And also the goal of VsCode is to help you to become a software engineer and to help you become a better one if you already are. And really it's just to help the community, right? Because the coding industry or the software development, coding technology boot camps is booming, right? So now is the perfect time for you to learn and also help others if you can, right? So if you haven't joined the community, so VsCode group or Discord, go ahead and join. I'm going to leave the link down in the description below. So how can you improve your coding skills today? So there is a list of things that I recommend to people, but in this video I'm going to share everything. So the first one is don't be afraid, right? So don't be afraid of making mistakes and also writing code. So I remember before, and maybe this can be also related to you, but sometimes you kind of see yourself a bit scared of writing code, right? So let's say you have to implement some logic, and that logic might take, for example, 100 lines of code, right? So you kind of be so it's kind of a nature for you to be a bit scared, right? So you say, wow, 100 lines of code, what am I going to write? Like, it's you kind of feel like scared just because of the amount of code that you write. But just let me tell you, right? So the number of lines is nothing, right? So this is nothing, right? So you will see for yourself that you will end up writing lots of lines of code, and you'll be like, wow, this is something that before I used to say, wow, how I'm going to write lots of lines of code, right? So that will become natural as you progress, right? So don't be scared of writing code. Go ahead and write as much code, even if it's not like the most optimal solution, right? So sometimes I used to be embarrassed of other people looking at my code and then laugh, right? But that wasn't never the case, right? So when you work with experienced engineers, they are there to help you and to mentor you, right? So no one's gonna laugh at your code. They're just gonna say, you know what, you can do this way, or that way. So you getting that feedback will help you, to improve the way you write code, right? And also something that I used to be scared as well was writing tests, right? So I was struggling with writing code. So taking the actual requirements and putting into code, but then also writing code to test my code. So I was like, wow, like what am I going to write? And yeah, so this is normal, right? But let me tell you, right? So if you want to become an engineer, you should be aware and you should know how to write tests, and tests will help you to become a better developer, because whatever you push out to real users, it's guaranteed to work, right? It is guaranteed to work. So yeah, so make sure to write tests. And also the thing with tests is, once you write, one test case, right, the happy path, then the rest is easy. You just, copy and paste some code and then change some scenarios to make sure that the assertions are what you expect, right? So you will get used to it, you'll become fast, and then once you write like lots of tests, you say, wow, there's a lot of code, but it makes sure that your code does work. So the second tip for you to improve your coding skills is learn how to search, right? So learn how to search. So let me actually show you what I mean. So when I mean learn how to search is how to use Google effectively, basically. So you see, lots of us, you might think that we software engineers, we know everything from the top of our head, and we learn every single line of code and memorize every single line of code. That's not the case, right? That's not the case, right? So what you need to understand is, as soon as you have the foundation, right? As soon as you grasp the foundation, then the rest will be easy, right? Because you can just look at some code and say, oh wow, this is what I need. Or if you are stuck, then you can simply search, for example, how to solve a particular problem based on the difficulties and the problems that you are facing, right? So learning how to use Google is very, very, very important, right? So sometimes and you know that we software engineers, we use Stack Overflow, right? So you might use it, a lot when you start your career, because you for example might not know how to use lists properly or maps properly or know the actual API. But as the time goes, you'll tend not to use Stack Overflow as often, really, when it's something that you haven't come across before. That's when you start use, for example, Stack Overflow. So I'm not saying that I use Stack Overflow every day, which I don't, right? So only when I'm faced with problems which I've kind of didn't encounter before, right? Because if I encountered them before, then the next time that I face with the same problem, I actually know, how I solved it, right? So make sure to, learn how to search for your problem effectively. So Google is a very powerful tool that we software engineers use on a daily basis, right? So for example, if you want to implement something that you've never done before, so the first thing that you might even do, or if you haven't been doing it, is how to implement X, or X example, right? For example, let's say you want to implement Stripe functionality to take payments from users and then charge them, right? So you might say Stripe example, right? Java or JavaScript or Go, right? So you'll find lots of examples, and then you can start from there. So learning how to use Google and search effectively is a skill that you must have. Third, as you search, right? So as you search, you will come across with some code, right? Some code. And it's very important for you to learn how to read other people's code, other developers' code. So you see, sometimes you might implement something, but it's not necessarily the actual best solution, or the best way of solving it, or the best, or actually the more efficient way of solving it, right? Someone already has solved the problem that you are trying to solve, right? So you learning how to read other people's code is very, very important, right? Because you can pick their examples, you can improve their examples, or even if it's better than what you currently have, why not just use it, right? There's nothing wrong of stealing other people's code, right? So let me just give you an example. So right here, so this is a course that I'm doing for testing, so unit testing, integration testing, how to properly test your application. So here, let me actually go back to this example. So here, so this is a service, right, that charges customers when an amount, currency, and source, so source is the actual card, and description is provided, right? So right here, so this is actually using Stripe API. And sometimes, if you haven't done it before, so what I encourage you to do is to go ahead and, for example, you see this class right here, I'm going to click on this method, create. So now here you can see that there are a bunch of other methods, but here you can see that I can start to see the actual URL. So this is where they are going to perform a post, right? So this is the actual request method. So this is the actual API. And then I can go ahead and click on request, and you can see that this is actually calling the response getter. Let me go inside, and you can see that this is an interface, and now I can see the actual implementations there. And you can see that now they are constructing the actual request, and what they do is simply call this request with retries. So let me click on that. And now you can see that this is, for example, how they are implementing the retry mechanism, right? So how, for example, if you wanted to implement some retry logic, for example, you can base your implementation based of this, right? So you can see that they are using thread.sleep, but this is just one option. This is just an option. So learning how to read other people's code, it's very important. So the next skill that you need to know in order to improve your coding skills is data structures. Well, I know, it's a topic that, it can be confusing for a lot of people, right? But, just bear in mind that there are a lot of data structures out there, and what you need to realize is there are a few that you have to know how to use them inside out, right? And there are the actual lists, so knowing how to use the list effectively, and map. So once you know those, then you can pretty much solve almost every single problem out there, right? So knowing how to use the list and map inside out will help you to solve pretty much 90, I would say 95 probably % of all the problems out there, right? So make sure that you understand and learn how to use them, right? Because coding is all about data, right? So manipulating data. So you've got some data. How do you manipulate that data to perform whatever you're trying to achieve, right? So basically taking your data, putting it inside of a data structure, right? Knowing how to manipulate that data, you should know how to do that inside out. So learn lists and maps, and obviously you've got stacks and queues and binary trees and all the other good ones, which you also should have. You should know basically how to work with them. But as you start, you should know lists and maps, right? So once you know the how to use these data structures, this now allows me to move to my next point, which is solving programming challenges, right? So let me actually show you. So there is this website called LeetCode. So you've got LeetCode, you've got HackerRank, and you've got many other ones. And basically what these platforms allow you to do is to increase your level of programming in a way of how you think about solving problems, right? How do you think? So for example, if you're applying for Google or Facebook or any of these top tech companies, you should start using HackerRank, LeetCode, and be familiar with how to solve programming challenges, because there it's all about algorithms, big O notations, and this is what you should know, right? But not just for Google as well, but in general, if you are into programming, knowing how to solve problems or challenging problems will help you to become a better engineer, because you will start to think in a different way and approach problems from various different angles, right? So you should start using these platforms to solve coding challenges. So next, I think it's very important for you to also build your network, right? So build your network, know people from different backgrounds, know people that know different technologies, right? And the best way for you to do that is to attend to hackathons, right? Or events, right, meetups. So be involved, right, because you will find in your career, as you progress, right, these people will be the ones that will help you some way or another, right? So you might meet someone, and that person might be your mentor, for example, or it might help you to get a job at this company, or if you are doing a project and you know that that person is really good using a certain technology, then building the network is amazing, right? You should build your network, right? And also, as I said, if you haven't joined the private Facebook group or the Discord group, go ahead and join, because the community is growing and we are always engaging and helping one another, and you should be part of it. So the next thing that I want you to do is to go and create a GitHub account if you haven't got one, right? So when you create a GitHub account, what I want you to do is every single problem that you solve, right, or every single project that you have, put them on a repository and make it public, right? So this way, what is good about it is you can showcase your work. So I remember once I went for an interview and I printed out screenshots of web applications and desktop apps that I'd done in the past, and I was like, I'm not be able to work with these technologies, but I go out myself and I try and implement these things, and this is how I keep on learning, right? So that way I've showed an interest, right? And then they've even asked me, what's your GitHub account? And like literally right there in front of me, they went and then they searched for my GitHub account, and they saw the projects, and they said that they saw that I wasn't actually lying, right? So make sure to have a GitHub account. And then the final two things that I want to touch on is don't stick to one language, right? So you might learn, for example, Python or C# or Go, for example, or Java, and you might think that that's the language that you're going to stick with it forever. But let me tell you right now, if you are a software engineer, you should be able to program in any language, right? So once you master one language, then the rest will be fairly easy, right? For example, if you master Java well enough, or C# or C++, then the rest will be easy enough, because all the other languages, they've took away all the complexity of these, mother languages, and they made it easier, right? So don't stick with one language. And finally, go ahead and learn how to use your terminal. So terminal, knowing how to use your terminal will help you some way or another. Trust me, like if you remote SSH into servers, and you definitely should know how to use the terminal and the basics of Bash, right? So I've got a course that I've released, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, teaching you how to use this effectively if you have never used it before, right? So know how to use your terminal properly, right? And Bash commands. And I think I've missed something here, so I wanted to show you that. Also, you see on GitHub, right? So I was saying that you should know data structures, right? But right here, so this is the actual trending repositories on Git. So right here, you can see that there is this the algorithms Java. So right here, and basically you can see that they have like lots of algorithms. But let's click on sort, for example, and you can see like quick sort, selection sort, shell sort, comp sort, heap sort. So let's click on heap sort. And this is where, for example, if you were to attempt your implementation, then you can go and see, oh, this is how they do it, right? So if you don't quite understand how they do it, you can clone this, open up your IDE, and then debug step by step and inspect the code, and that's how you're going to learn, right? So knowing how to read other people's code is very important. And finally, I almost forgot. So knowing how to use your IDE will take you a long way, right? So just imagine, you know how to code, but you don't know how to use your IDE, right? So it might take you 10 minutes just to do something. Whereas with me, if I know, or actually I know my IDE inside out, it will just take me 1 minute, right? So you see the advantage there, right? So knowing how to use your IDE efficiently is a tool, or it's not a tool, it's a skill that you should have. So I've got a course on how to use IntelliJ here on YouTube and on my website. So if you're interested, go ahead and check it out, because you should know how to use your IDE, and full stop. So this is how you are going to improve your coding skills. So let me know, what you thought about this video, and if there is something that I missed, go ahead and comment down below, and maybe I can, make another video on the things that I've actually missed, right? But from experience, these are the things or the skills that you should have to improve your coding skills. So this is all for now. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe. Also smash the like button, share the video, and if you haven't joined the private Facebook group, join, because the community is growing, as I said. And this is all for now. I'll catch you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum.